There's three things I'm doing to prepare for early retirement. Stick around and watch this video to find out what they are. 53 months. 53 months, and I'll be 55 years old. And the whole point of this channel, making this channel, and doing these videos was to show what a person needs to do in order to be able to retire early. So as of right now, there's three specific things I'm doing to prepare for 55 years old and my retirement journey. And the first one I'm going to talk about is debt. Now, I don't really carry a lot of debt. At one time, I may have kind of overextended myself back when I was young and didn't know any better. But in the last 10 years specifically, I've actively tried to keep my debt ratio fairly low. Saying that, I still do have, obviously, everybody that in the working class is going to have some kind of debt, whether it be mortgage, car, credit cards, line of credit, whatever it may be. For myself, it's fairly small. I do have a small auto loan on my car. It was only a 3-year term, and of that, 6 months has already gone by, so I've got another 30 months of paying on it. Not a huge payment. I've never ever bought a car that cost me any more than $500 a month. I don't believe in bad investments like automobiles. For me, it's just a mode of transportation to get from point A to point B. I don't need nothing special. So I've never really spent a lot of money on vehicles. Now, obviously, something else that most people will have is probably a mortgage. I've actively, tried not to take any money out of my equity in my house. I've never tried to refinance or remortgage or anything like that. Didn't pay a whole lot when I bought my house, and with everything that happened during COVID, the real estate boom and all that fiasco, I find myself sitting on a fair amount of equity. Now, when it comes to the mortgage, there's two ways I'm looking at playing it. One is remortgaging the house, taking out a bunch of equity the next couple of years and putting it into my investments, just to kind of bump up what I would have going into retirement. And that would put me in a far better position financially at 55. Or I'm looking at just outright selling the house, listing it 6 months before I plan on retiring, and taking all that equity. At that point, I would have no mortgage payment. I would have no worries about paying housing insurance, upkeep, anything like that. So it's the one I'm kind of leaning towards, just getting rid of the house. I'll kind of bring this up in one of my other points. But for now, let's just leave it at that. Credit card debt, obviously, anybody that has credit card debt, you should definitely wipe that out before retiring. I don't have a whole lot. I've kind of planned this over the last few years to get the credit cards that I need in order to do what I want to do during retirement. Again, I'll bring this up in kind of the last point. But I try not to carry much, if any, of any balance at all with those cards. And yeah, so financially, on the financial side, everything's looking, pretty good. I don't have any major debt. What debt I do have, it'll be paid off almost a year before I plan on retiring. And but yeah, so that part of it is good as well. The next point or the next thing I'm doing to actively plan for my early retirement is my investment side. As I said before, I've been investing for a number of years. Uh, Whichever way I plan on dealing with the house, whether I remortgage it or I just sell it outright, all that money will, or 95% of that money will be going into the investment account. I actively manage my own investments. I don't have somebody else doing it, and it's something that I've actively been learning to do for the last 15 to 20 years, and I've become fairly proficient at it. So my rate of return is quite well. I do quite well, and the whole point of doing that is that is going to be my income during retirement. I'm not planning on a big pension. The money that I get from the government when I do turn 60 and or 65 will not come anywhere near funding what I plan on doing in retirement. So, years ago when I kind of had this idea of what my retirement would look like, I had to come up with a number as far as a monthly or a yearly number that I would have to have in order to do what I wanted to do in retirement. So even without the house, selling the house or remortgaging the house, whatever it may be, I'm still in the position that with my investments and where they will be in 3 to 5 years, I have no worries about what I will be able to afford in retirement. So that side of it, I'm fairly confident in. The other thing I'm actively doing going into retirement is I do have money in RSPs. It's not a huge amount, but I'm slowly bleeding that off into and maximizing a TFSA. For anybody that's not Canadian, it's a tax-free savings account. Any money you put into and make from that account is basically tax-free. So anybody that talks to me about retirement investments, that's the first thing I tell them. You want to maximize your tax-free savings account. I believe in the U.S. it's called a Roth IRA. Basically the same thing. It's more or less a tax-free account. So going into retirement, I'm not going to be able to have all of my money in tax-free because there is a cap on that. However, because my wife will be retiring roughly about the same time that I will be, we'll be able to maximize both, and I'll be able to manage the investments on both of those accounts, which will give us two tax-free sources of income. And then my regular investment account will basically top up what we need on a monthly or a yearly basis. Yeah, so the first thing that I'm doing is making sure that my debt's dealt with, as any retiree should do. Second thing I'm doing is managing my finances or my investment side, making sure that when I do retire, I'm going to have the income that I need to do what I want, which kind of both of those points kind of go into my third thing that I'm actively doing, and that is I'm actively searching for and what I plan on doing during retirement. Now, you may have kind of figured it out by now, but in retirement, I plan on traveling. I plan on traveling a good 6 to 8 months out of the 12 months a year, most likely outside of North America. I may spend a little bit of time in Mexico, but for the most part, I have a handful of places that I'm looking at to spend the majority of my time in retirement. All of these places are obviously warmer climates, as if you've seen any of my other videos, you may well know I bloody hate winter and the cold weather that goes with it in the northern part of North America. So all the places I'm looking at are, tropical. Most of them are tropical climates. There's some places in Europe that may be, a temperate climate, not necessarily tropical, but they probably wouldn't get You get little, if any, snow at all at some of these places. But in order to do that, obviously, I've never been to all these places that I'm looking at. So going into retirement over the next 5 years or 4.5 years, I'm going to be digging deeper into these places, and I am planning a number of trips to scout out these locations for retirement. You know, there's probably plenty of you out there that have gone on vacations to new spots, and you don't necessarily, you know, it looks good on paper. You do all the research, think you're going to have a good time, and you get there and it's not what you expected. Let alone spending, you may spend a week there or 2 weeks there, and you may get through it, not necessarily like those, but if you had to commit to a place for 2, 3, 4, 5 months in a run of a year, would you want to go back to that place that you didn't necessarily like? So I have 4, possibly 5 trips planned over the next 50 months to some of these places that I would like to spend time in retirement, and hopefully I can take out 1 or 2, maybe 3 that are in close proximity to each other, so I can kind of move around a little bit. Obviously, you go to the same place year after year, and these places are going to get a bit stagnant. Even best and the best Caribbean beaches in the world, you're gonna keep going there time again, and it's going to become boring at some point. So I'm looking at having a few places that I can kind of just rotate through throughout a 6 and 8 month period, and hopefully I can nail some spots down that will be both enjoyable for me, affordable, and somewhere also obviously that my wife is willing to endure. So if you're still with me, those are the 3 things that I am doing to actively plan for my early retirement. These things might be something you should be looking at. Maybe you have, maybe your idea of retirement is completely different from mine. This is kind of my plan, so this is the way that I'm pursuing it, and maybe you get some ideas from it. Maybe it's put some new ideas into your head for what you might want to do. So anyway, that's basically it for this video. I hope you would like and subscribe to this channel. I have lots of content coming. I'm going to be obviously doing some videos on the places that I visit, and I do have a trip coming up here in another few weeks, and it's not necessarily a place I am actively looking to spend time in my retirement, but it is a place that I have been going for a number of years. So I'll have a video on that sometime, probably towards December. Anyway, thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.